National Voter Registration Act. That is often referred to as the Motor Voter Law, and it is a bill that allows us to vote at our driver's license offices. There is a problem, though, with the bill, it is a problem with the form that stems from that bill has a checkbox that you check to affirm you are a citizen. It does not, however, proof of citizenship. And the state of Arizona for many years has required proof of citizenship to register to vote. They got sued for requiring this proof of citizenship, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said that they must accept the form from the National Voter Registration Act, or the Motor Voter Law. So they must accept that form. What happened then is that they wound up bifurcating their ballot. So if you've shown proof of citizenship to register to vote, you get to vote for president, Congress, Senate, Congress, governor, lieutenant governor, all the way down to the most local elected office. If, however, in this border state, if you have not shown proof of citizenship, then you get a ballot and you vote for president, Senate, and Congress. And it's called the federal only ballot. So it's pretty crazy that is happening. And to their credit, the Supreme Court did not create law out of whole cloth from the bench. I'm a constitutional conservative. I don't want the Supreme Court doing that. They said that if Congress wants you to have proof of citizenship, then Congress needs to specify that you have proof of citizenship. Now, what President Trump is doing through executive orders right now is cleaning that form up and is going to require proof of citizenship. And that is great, and I'm very supportive of that. President Trump is also supportive of this bill. The bill was introduced in the last Congress. In fact, he announced the bill at Mar-a-Lago with Speaker Johnson before it was formally announced. And then we formally introduced it on the steps of the Capitol with Speaker Johnson, Congressman Chip Roy, and Senator Mike Lee. I was at that event along with a few of our coalition partners, including Cleta Mitchell from the Election Integrity Network, Rosemary Jinks from the Immigration Accountability Project, and we were very supportive of the bill. It passed last Congress, and it passed again this Congress. We want the bill to pass, in addition to the changes that President Trump is doing through executive order, to codify his executive order and just make this law so a future president can't undo the executive order in the future. So that's what we're working on. That is why we are working on it. The House has passed it. The Senate has not. So we want the Senate to take it up and vote on it. It has to get through the filibuster in the Senate, which means we need Democrat senators voting in favor of this. It should be pretty simple. Over 80% of Americans agree with us on this issue. In fact, 87% of Americans agree. Only American citizens should vote in American elections for president, Senate, and Congress. It's pretty simple. And 86% of Americans agree that they want to require proof of citizenship to register to vote. If the Senate will not pass it as a standalone bill, then we want it to be attached to what's called must-pass legislation. And our first opportunity for that will happen this month. The Congress has to pass funding bills for the government because we have our new fiscal year beginning on October 1st. And so it can be attached to an appropriation bill or a continuing resolution. And then at some point, Democrats will be voting to fund the government. Right now, they're talking about shutting down the government, but at some point, they'll be voting to fund the government. And we are hoping we can attach this to that kind of bill. If we are not successful with government funding bills, then we have another bite at the apple with the National Defense Authorization Act, which must be passed through both chambers by December or in December. And there are a couple of other bills like that. So we're starting now. If we're not successful this month, we will keep at it until we get it passed into law. And that is why we're here. We're trying to drive awareness to this issue. And of course, President Trump has talked about other actions that he wants to take with election integrity, and we are supportive of those as well. We're focused on this because the bill has already been written. It's already passed both chambers. Over 80% of Americans agree with us, and we want to get this done knowing that success begets success, and we can come back and work on other election integrity issues. So with that, understanding what we're doing, we're going to hear from a few speakers from here in Michigan. And the first one we are going to hear from is Patrice Johnson. She is the founder of the Michigan Fair Elections Institute. She is absolutely amazing, so please welcome Patrice Johnson.
Thank you, Jenny Beth. Appreciate it. The feeling's mutual. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for coming. And what a beautiful day to be out. And Him, it's nice to see you here too. By the way, Him is here, Jenny Beth. We gather today to discuss a very important issue. The most fundamental principles of our constitutional republic is the sacred right of American citizens and only American citizens to participate in our elections. This principle isn't merely a preference or a tradition. It's a constitutional requirement, oh thank you, at the very heart of our constitutional republic. The right to vote is perhaps our most precious civic responsibility. It's how we choose our representatives. It's how we shape our laws. It's how we determine the direction of our nation. But when that sacred process is compromised, when non-citizens participate in elections that are meant exclusively for American citizens, we undermine the very foundation upon which our democracy stands. Our Constitution is clear. Voting in federal elections is reserved for citizens. This isn't an accident of history or an outdated concept. It's a deliberate design feature of our system. The founders understood that the citizenship carries both privileges and responsibilities. The privilege of voting comes with the responsibility of having a permanent stake in America's future. When we allow non-citizens to participate in federal elections, we dilute the votes of legitimate American citizens. Every illegal vote cast diminishes the power of every legal vote cast. This isn't just a technical violation. It's a fundamental betrayal of the social contract between government and its citizens. Recent investigations by the Michigan Fair Elections Institute have revealed alarming weaknesses in our election integrity system, particularly regarding overseas voting under the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. Here are the sobering facts. In Michigan's 2024 election, 81.2% of overseas ballots, over 17,000 ballots, were transmitted electronically to citizen voters abroad with insufficient verification of their identities or their citizenship status. These aren't military personnel serving in submarines or serving our country overseas. These are civilians who receive protected status by our Secretary of State, which gives them exemption from rigorous verification of identity. Think about this for a moment. Michigan Secretary of State has instructed clerks to afford overseas non-military people, allegedly, protected status, effectively waiving standard verification of their identities, let alone citizenship or residency in Michigan. While our military heroes serving in submarines or in classified missions overseas deserve the protection and accommodation of electronic ballots, extending the same carte blanche to civilians abroad is inviting massive vulnerability into our election system. So the scope of this problem is staggering. Nationwide, in 2024, civilians overseas represented 71% of overseas ballots, while military voters made up only 26%. And in Michigan, it's even worse. In Michigan specifically, Civilians dominated overseas voting by more than 4 to 1. 4 to 2, excuse me. 83% of overseas ballots came from non-military overseas civilians, unverified. These civilians can register online. They use what's called the federal postcard. It's an online program. You can just go on, and it allows you to omit your Social Security number if you don't have it. It allows you to omit your driver's license number if you don't have it. And you can check that you've never lived in the United States. And you can still register to vote in the United States. Most troubling, Michigan accepts unclear or unpostmarked ballots up to 6 days after Election Day. It may not have a postmark on it. It may not even come from the United States Post Office. So as you can see, there are some real world consequences to our overseas citizen process. The UOCAVA vulnerabilities are part of a broader pattern of election integrity failures. Michigan's voter rolls contain an estimated 800,000 ineligible registrants, with registration rates exceeding the citizenship voting age population by approximately 570,000 people. We have 570,000 more people registered to vote than voting age citizens in our state. This over-registration creates opportunity for fraud and dilution. The state's online registration system allows people to register and vote without ever interacting with another human being. We have same-day registration, but we do not have real-time computer systems. So you can register and vote in a jurisdiction, and the clerk will have no way of knowing if you're registered in other locations. Then we receive if we're lucky, we receive the FOIA information on the voters from an election a month after the election, and those voter rolls continue to change. Who voted changes by up to 70,000 people. And we always, last election we had more than 70,000, no, in 2020, we had 70,000 more ballots than recorded voters. So all of this leads to an invitation to fraud. It opens up our country to basically silencing American citizens. So this is why it's so important that we support the SAVE Act and that the SAVE Act become part of our laws that are enforced here in Michigan as well as across the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrice. And now we're going to hear from Bernadette Smith, who is the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. Oh, and also she helped us with this amazing event, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. You know, it's an honor to be here. And, you know, next time we have this event, we want to see it triple and quadruple. So I'm so thankful and so blessed that you guys asked me to come. And what an honor and privilege is here to stand at the state capitol, right here in the heart of Lansing, where the people's voice must be heard. This building stands for liberty, sacrifice, and the will of her citizens. And let me emphasize, citizens. The right to vote is not just a duty, it's a sacred trust. It belongs to the American people, to those who pledge allegiance to the flag, to those who honor the Constitution, to those who carry the responsibility of citizenship. But today, some want to chip away at that. Some want to open our ballot box to people who are not citizens. Let me be clear. That is not compassion. That is corruption. That is not democracy. That is deception. And we must recognize that. The Bible says, yes, I say the Bible says, because that is the greatest guide that all of us must walk in. The Bible says the Lord detests dishonest scales. He hates it, dishonest scales. But accurate weights find favor with him. Elections are the scales of our republic. And when we allow non-citizens to vote, we tip the scales. Thank you so much. We invite dishonesty. We invite dishonesty and we mock the God who calls us to truth. Can you say truth? Our God calls us to truth, and we must keep that in the forefront of our hearts and our mind. Citizenship matters. It's loyalty. It's sacrifice. It's commitment. And when we give away our vote, we cheapen the blood shed on the battlefield. We silence hardworking Americans. We dishonor new Americans who stood tall, raised their hand, and pledged loyalty to this nation. Think about this. This is what's happening. This isn't about party. It's about principle. Psalms 33:12 says this: "Blessed is the nation who God is the Lord." If we want God's blessing on America, we must protect the ballot box. So what do? We demand proof of citizenship. We guard our ballots like treasure. And we say it with one voice: in America, only Americans vote. Can you say that? In America, only Americans vote. One more time. In America, only Americans vote. I'm not just standing here as a Republican. I'm standing here as an American. And I say this: if we lose the ballot, we lose our freedom. Do you want to lose your freedom? No. So let's not lose the ballot. We will not waver. We will not compromise. We will not be silent. The vote belongs to the United States citizens. Together, we will and we must protect it. I want to say this: may God bless all of us. May God bless the state of Michigan. May God bless the United States of America. And may God bless this world. So with us coming and supporting the Save America Act, we will win, 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 win. Can you say it? Protecting our ballot box. We will win, we will win, and we will win. Thank you so much for having me, and God bless you.
Good job. Very good job. Thank you. Got it? Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Bernadette. And now we're going to hear from Hema. Oh, my. Hema. I have it written down, and I still got it wrong. It's the second time on the tour I've done that, and I cannot pronounce your last name. Okay, she's going to pronounce her last name for me, and then she's a Republican National Committee woman from Michigan. Thank you so much, Hema.
Thank you. A lot of you guys know my last name, so I would not waste my time. Yeah, I'm the National Committee woman, and it's an honor to speak at this event. This particular issue is very, very dear to my heart because, as some of you know, that my first involvement in politics was about testifying about the election fraud in 2020, and that is, during my testimony is where I was told that we do not need to show an ID to vote. I was shocked to even learn that that's a possibility, and I come from a country with 1.4 billion population, but we still have a voter ID requirement. So I have no idea why it is not a requirement here. So I really got deeply involved in this issue later. And then when, we are just told the statistics that 87% agree that citizenship is a requirement to vote, I wonder about the rest 13%. Like, do they really love this country? Have they pledged their allegiance to this country? If yes, why are they not on board? And it is a shame that one party agrees that only citizens can vote and the other party does not. But we also know that the other party has very carefully opened up our borders, let 21 million people in by design because they want to use them for something, and we know what that is. So I'll give you my own experience. When I became a citizen in 2015, I tried to register to vote because 2016 was the first time I was going to vote. And the system kicked me out and said, I have to go to the Social Security office and update my status, my visa status, to prove that I became a citizen. So I made an appointment with the Social Security office, showed my naturalization certificate, my passport, and then they said it'll take a week for the system to update it. Was it an inconvenience? Yes. But did I realize it was a requirement? I'm like, yes. And I knew that I had to do it one time and one time alone to prove that I'm a citizen. And then that's it, I'm set for life. So I did make a lunch hour appointment, go and do it. Right now, since Jocelyn Benson became the Secretary of State, we do not have that requirement. Because now when people are trying to register, they severed the link with the Social Security office, and you can just, and her explanation is, well, there is a checkbox that says, are you a U.S. citizen? Because people are so truthful. The thing is, if your first act of coming into this country is illegal, does that checkbox scare you? I don't think so. So all I say is right now that she's not checking whether somebody is a citizen or not. We had a system that used to check. And if somebody has disconnected that link, you understand why they did that. So that is by design. So I totally agree on this, saying that we can't have the segregation that the red states follow the law and the blue state Secretary of States do whatever they want to do. So we have to have a uniform law that comes federally. And I understand elections is a state issue, but this is the common sense, basic thing where 87% of the people are saying we have to be a citizen to vote. So I just really hope we get all the signatures and everything, or let our voices be heard in the Capitol so they understand that, even Democrats understand that their own constituents, their own people that are voting for them also agree on this issue. So we have to have a law so we don't rely on the Secretary of States doing their own thing. And the third thing I say is, we Republicans really believe in this issue, but are we ready to put the money where our mouth is? Because we know that even in our state, we are trying to get this issue on the ballot. So are we ready to put our boots on the ground, get the signatures that are needed, get this passed? Because we know that our Secretary of State is not going to change anything unless people tell her to. So we have to get this done through the ballot, because if you really want to have any chance, if we really want to have any chance of Republicans ever coming back to power, we have to make sure that these 21 million people that were let in illegally do not have the right to vote. And the only way we can do it is by ensuring that only citizens vote. And by this federally, and by getting our issue on the ballot and getting it passed in 26, we have to make sure only citizens vote. So I urge all of the Republicans, we are all very hardworking. The fact that on a weekday you're here, I believe that you really believe in this cause. Let's all of us work together, get this on the ballot in Michigan, federally get this passed, and make sure that we protect the ballot. Because unless we have this issue secured, anything we do is not going to matter. So election integrity starts with securing that only American citizens vote in American elections. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Emma. Thank you very much, Emma. And thanks for explaining what the process is that you went through so you could become a citizen and could vote. And I found on this tour, the people who are the most adamant about this issue are actually the ones who have become naturalized citizens. They really, really want to protect their vote and the right of all American citizens. Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Miguel Pilar, who is with Turning Point. He's the field representative of Turning Point Action.
Thank you so much, everyone. It is great to be here with you all today. I do not have anything prepared, so I won't take too much of your time. I'm with Turning Point Action, the largest youth conservative organization here in America, and I'm one of the field representatives here in the state of Michigan. If you haven't heard of Turning Point, go check it out. We're at tpaction.com, and please get involved with one of our many different coalitions here in the state. We have more than 15 here within the state, but today I'm here to talk about election integrity, and we need more than 80% of Americans believe that only citizens are allowed to vote here in America. And in Michigan here, we have a ballot initiative, Americans for Citizens Only petition. So I highly encourage you and recommend that each and every one of you, after we leave this today, to get at least 10 of your friends to sign that petition and turn that back in. Because we need this ballot initiative to get on the ballot to make sure that only American citizens vote in our elections. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Where can people go to sign the petition for Michigan? Okay, over there, when we finish, make sure you go over there to talk to her so you can sign the one that is specific for your state. Okay, now you're going to hear from Marissa Hamilton. She is with a group called Easy AZ, as in Easy, Arizona. She works on calls to action. She has joined us on this tour, helping Tea Party Patriots Action. She's going to talk about what happens in Arizona and a little bit more of that problem, which I think is important because it's how I realized there was such a problem with this particular law, and it really just highlights why we need to change the law. She's going to talk about that, and then also calls to action that you can take as you leave here today, and then I'll wrap it up.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad to be back in Michigan. I love this state, and I'm really sorry for your terrible leadership. When COVID was happening, I was looking at your governor, and I was like, wow, she has perfectly sculpted eyebrows of tyranny. And so today I came here with my beautiful white shoes that say fire tyrants, because I think that's what should happen to your tyrannical governor. I want to talk today a little bit about what's happened to Arizona, because you have a similar story of what you're facing here in Michigan. And in some cases, it's even a little bit worse. I think in some areas, they're beating Arizona in the fraud department. And so it's something that we all have to work together. I also work very closely with EIN. I'm a proud supporter of EIN, and I think it's really important the work that is done to secure our elections. Because if we don't have secure elections, like what many of the speakers before me said, we have no freedom. We have nothing. We have no country. It's just as if we have no borders. If you don't have election integrity, if you don't have borders, you have no country. And so these are the fundamental rights that we have as American citizens that have been fought and so many died to preserve. And so what are we saying to them if we don't stand up and fight? Government goes to those who show up, and I'm so thankful for you being here today that you're showing up. So some people have said, you know, Marissa, you already have documentary proof of citizenship in Arizona. Why are you so passionate about this issue? And I say, because we don't have real proof of citizenship in Arizona. And they say, you're a conspiracy theorist. What are you talking about? Well, we worked really hard in Arizona to get rid of our terrible former Maricopa County recorder that was doing all those shenanigans. He actually worked with CISA to set up an entire surveillance operation with our election security dollars. So instead of securing our elections, he used it to set up infrastructure to spy on people like me complaining about election administration violating our law on social media. Imagine, I kind of asked him, why are you so obsessed with me? But we fired him. So I don't have to ask him that question anymore. And then we got a new county recorder in who's part of the Freedom Caucus. His name is Justin Heap, and that was able to give us a lot of insight as to what's really going on and how our elections are administered. And guess what we found out? Our motor vehicle division, which gets most of our proof of citizenship documentation, does not let the recorders have access to any of that documentation. All they get is a little digital check mark saying we super swear we got proof of citizenship. And everyone was like, well, that should be fine because they saw it. Like, why don't you trust them? Well, I don't trust them because last year they said that they have a glitch. And they've had a glitch for 2 decades. And so they found that there was over 200,000 voters that had not shown proof of citizenship to register to vote. And we have a similar problem with our Secretary of State and also our Attorney General. And our Attorney General recently just put out a formal opinion saying, well, it's not the voters' fault that there is that glitch, so they don't have to show proof of citizenship. The recorders can ask for it, but if they don't, nothing happens to them. Well, that's not what our law says. Our law in Arizona says that if you haven't shown proof of citizenship to vote, then you get a federal-only ballot. And that's only because of the federal law. And that's why we need the SAVE Act passed. Because what happens to your elections when you're in a swing state and 200,000 people potentially haven't shown their proof of citizenship? Now, I don't think all 200,000 people are not citizens, but I know some of them aren't. And why do I know that? Because the first person they identified as causing this issue was not a citizen. And then a week later, after that went on the news did another broadcast with someone, and they came forward and they said, look, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm registered to vote. I didn't register myself to vote. The MVD system registered me to vote, and I keep trying to get off of it, and they won't let me get off of it. He said he tried twice to get off of it, and they just kept putting him back on as a U.S. registered citizen. So in the primary last year, there was a voter that one of our volunteers called, and he said, look, I'm going to just tell you straight up, I'm a citizen of France. And we were like, but you're registered to vote. And he said, yeah, I didn't register to vote. I don't know how I got registered to vote. I keep trying to get my name off the voter rolls and they won't do it. And I'm afraid I'm going to get deported, but it's not my fault. I didn't do this. So I public records requested his voter record. His voter record even has a jury duty form saying he's a citizen of France. So I asked the recorder, can you check on this guy? Because he says he's not a citizen. His voter record says he's not a citizen. Oh, the MVD system says he's a citizen and then they have proof of citizenship. How does that happen? I can tell you it happens from corruption and maladministration. They are happy to glitch you out of your vote. And so that is why we must pass the SAVE Act. We must require proof of citizenship to vote in every single U.S. election. It is a must pass legislation, and that's why it needs to be attached to must pass legislation. So what can we do about it? Well, number one, if you came to this event and you didn't sign in, then you want to go over to the sign-in table and get a card to sign in and make sure that you've added your name to the petition, because on September 10th, we're going down to D.C. to deliver those petitions. I know many people in this room have been getting petitions. If you could raise your hand if you've been gathering petitions so we can honor you, give them a round of applause. Thank you for all your hard work. We also have bumper stickers that you can grab of Only Citizens Vote. And then we have more petition forms here that you can grab. Some of the workers that are here protesting for better roads came and signed the petition. I'm very excited for that. I don't want to lift this too high because it's going to blow all over the place. But we have more petition forms if you need to grab that. Then you can also go to demandonlycitizensvote.com. That's demandonlycitizensvote.com. And there are more action steps you can take. These forms are available also online for you to download. You can have an ice cream social, invite friends and family over, invite people from church over. You can go around your neighborhoods and knock on their doors and ask them to sign the petition. If you have events that you're heading towards, then bring some petition forms with you and make sure you collect petitions for your ballot initiative too. That's very important. And then on September 10th, we're going to be down at the Capitol, Washington, D.C., and we will deliver these petitions to Congress and to the Senate, because this is the most important legislation that I think that we can pass in our lifetime. There's a lot of other things we need to fix in elections. I think we all agree with that. But it starts with making sure that only citizens vote in our U.S. elections. And just like what I just heard that's happening here in Michigan, where they're trying to prevent citizens from being able to clean your voter rolls, our Secretary of State in Arizona is trying to do the same shenanigans. So all the people that are for tyranny are working together to try to subvert our Constitution. And we are here to stand on the line and say, not today. Go back to wherever you came from, which is not the United States, if you're trying to violate our laws. We are here for U.S. citizens, and if you come here, we want you to come here legally. It is the safest way to come to our country. We want you to come here legally. We want you to be able to be a good part of our society and help uphold our laws, because America remains the greatest country in the world, and we intend for it to stay that way, and it only happens when we follow the rule of law. So thank you so much for all your hard work and all that you've done to stand in the gap to protect our Constitution.
Good job.
All right, we have one more speaker. Representative Joe Fox is going to come forward and speak, and we're going to go to him, and then I think we'll be wrapping up after that, unless we have any more state reps who come in at the last second. Thank you so much for being here.
Sorry to be a late joiner. I just saw a quote the other day, and I definitely don't have it memorized yet, but it's by Thomas Paine, and I just plugged in, "Tyranny is hell." And I will say that that's what we're messing with this whole issue. I do not claim to be a politician. I think that politicians are most concerned about the next election, but I do claim to be a patriot, and patriots are concerned about the next generation. And I always point out my gray head when I say this Bible passage, that it's Psalm 71:18 says, "Even when I am old and gray, do not forsake me, O God, until I declare your power to the next generation, your might to all who are to come." And the way that we're going to fight tyranny, and we are doing it on the Election Integrity Committee here at the state capitol, is we are going to, as was said by the last speaker, do away with these shenanigans, this playing games of having hundreds of thousands of extra voters on our qualified voter file list. You know, people who are dead, people who have moved. And we've had that type of testimony before our Election Integrity Committee. We currently have Jocelyn Benson in court because she will not turn over information to us about what they train clerks to do, okay? She's already lost 7 court cases, okay, in relation to things that she has done. So long story short, we are doing everything we can, and what I see it as, us along with Pam Bondi is working on it from the federal level. We are pulling on the threads at the edge of this this tapestry that needs to unravel. And we need to go back to 2020 and maybe beyond and see what has happened. Because if we don't do that, all we're doing is playing the political game. And that's another way you tell the difference between a politician and a patriot. A politician says, oh, we can't worry about the past. You know, all we can do is look ahead, okay? 2020, that's past. It doesn't matter anymore. And a patriot says, no, we need to learn from history. And we need to not succumb to the tyranny around us. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your encouragement. And what a beautiful bus. Only citizens. Amen.
Thank you very much, Representative Fox. Thank you. Oh, dear. Thank you so much, Representative Fox. All right, so that is most of the program for today. What we are going to do, thank you very much, Lansing, Michigan, for being out here today. We're going to end our live stream, and then